It and the borrowed time you've all been living on.
Pure evil.
I'm necessary evil.
You know the most annoying thing about a tag? When it's shaken. A shaken tag just gnaws at you. You had the information. Where did it go? I know I've seen Michael Boggs somewhere, but where did the information go? Oh well. It's so very real. It's so very real now. I've read a bit of this, the first opening paragraph, and I thought, you know what, let's just record it and cry over it together. For anyone wondering, yeah, I've already cried over Damon leaving, and I am going to interview him. The interview is going to take place on the 13th of, so that's 3 days from when I'm making this video, because I'm making this video on the 10th, when this has been released. So on the Monday I'll interview him. It'll probably go up on the Tuesday or the 14th of February. Either way, sad times. And if in case you're new to the channel, I don't necessarily talk about tactics. I talk about the seedy underbelly of Netrunner, the things around it. Like Damon Stone leaving, for example. That's the thing around it, not necessarily about cards or tactics. The design team has changed. The game has not. It's still heartless. Hello Android Netrunner players. We have a number of updates to share with you today, most notably a change in our design team. I'm crying already. I've cried so many tears. Mama said you shouldn't cry over a man. Then she asked me about grandkids, and I said not likely. As many have heard, Damon Stone will be leaving Fantasy Flight Games and the team in charge of Android Netrunner. To begin, FFG and the LCG department would like to thank Damon Stone for his 6.5 years of service, over which he has provided design and development work on a Game of Thrones LCG, the Call of Cthulhu LCG, and Android Netrunner mainframe board game. Most recently and prominently, your game of choice, Android Netrunner. Damon has decided to move on with his next phase of his life's journey, and while we will miss him, his talents and his contributions to the team, we wish him the very best in the future. His departure obviously left a great void in the LCG team that needed to be filled, and we are pleased to introduce the new designer for Android Netrunner, Michael Boggs. Nothing against you, Michael Boggs, but you're not Damon Stone. I mean, I liked Lucas as well, but I couldn't argue with Lucas. Very conservative, very straightforward. Didn't rock the boat too much, but, well, except for NEH, but, oh, so many feels. I don't know who you are, Michael Boggs. I don't know if I could argue with you. Like, when I see Damon Stone speak, I disagree with him on most things, and I feel like I could state that, and I don't know. I just don't know if I could talk to anyone else. Oh, so many feels. So many feels. Michael comes to us with a keen insight and a passion for the game that was forged in the fires of the Seoul and Busan metas in South Korea. In talking with him, it became evident that he had a unique talent for clear, elegant and creative design work that would make him a strong addition to the LCG team. Well, I hope so. Well, I won't argue, but with these announcements, we would like to give Damon Stone an opportunity to say farewell to you, the community he's helped build, and to take a few minutes to talk to Michael so you can get to know him. Damon Stone. I started working for Fantasy Flight Games in August 2010 as the lead designer for the first edition of Game of Thrones LCG. Over the years, I've had the honour and pleasure of working with some of the best game designers, developers and producers and graphic designers and art directors in the industry, and on some of the most compelling IPs in hobby gaming. Yep. Definitely playing the corporate role. I will always think fondly of my first visit to FFG when I was an enthusiastic playtester passing through Minnesota on a business trip, and how my passion and dedication led me to contacting Nate French in hopes of gleaming how he ended up as a lead designer of one of my all-time favourite games. Here I am now as an experienced designer and developer, and I've tried to pay that patience and interest forward, answering questions when I can and encouraging fans of the games to become the next crop of new designers and developers. And I love you for it, sir. I love you for it. It meant a great deal. Even as someone who couldn't be there to do that, it still meant a great deal. Part of doing this is remembering what it's like when you are on the outside, just making a name for yourself and showing confidence and trusting hand over something you love to someone who loves it as much as you do. It is time for me to turn the reins of Android Netrunner to a new developer. I will always be involved in the game and the Android universe, but my role is now more of that of a fan, reader, and eventually spectator. A speculator? I look forward to having more time to play, casually read novellas with excitement and glee, and speculate on where the metagame will go next, when the new part of Android universe will be explored, and what that will do for my favourite decks. Well, look forward to seeing you out there, Damon. To one, if not the best communities in gaming, thank you for your trust and faith, for allowing me to share with you my passion and vision for the game of Worlds of Android. Michael Boggs is a dedicated designer and developer, and I very much look forward to seeing this just off all of us. Damon Stone. Oh dear. Ooh, new card art. Oh no, that's that criminal breaker. Well. Damon, thanks again. It's been a pleasure working with you over the years, and we are still grateful that you are available to us to consult to assist with the future development of the game. Let's turn on to Michael Boggs and see what he's all about. Alright, slash and burn, people. Michael Boggs, Fantasy Flight Games. Michael, can you tell us about your experience with Android Netrunner? What would you describe yourself as a player, and what would you like most about the game? He seems like a nice chap. I think have I seen him in the background? Not too sure. I started playing Android Netrunner not long after it released. My friend brought the game over one evening and demanded we play. Then it took me a few games before I really understood what was going on. I immediately fell in love. It was so different and complex. I was addicted. When I moved to Busan, South Korea, I found the small but dedicated Android Netrunner community. We met multiple times a week, held tournaments at least once a month. The group I played in became some of my best friends. After about 2 years in Busan, I moved to Seoul, where I was able to join up with a much larger competitive scene. Unfortunately, due to the nature of living abroad, many of the key members of the Seoul Android Netrunner community returned to their home countries not long after my arrival. Though the community shrank in response, I continued to play regularly until I moved back to the US. Interesting. Let's see where this takes us. My favourite thing about Android Netrunner is the fact that a person's individual strategy defines them as a player. You might build a deck that you build flawlessly, but when I pick it up, I run it into the ground. I also love that the more you play with someone, the easier it becomes to read their actions, an incredibly important aspect of the game. For instance, my friends have realised that as a runner, I tend to be aggressive. As such, it's pretty easy to lure me into traps, and they do that a lot. The fact that they can know me on a personal level and tailor their playstyle accordingly is truly amazing. What are your favourite decks to play and your favourite cards? For Corp, 1000 Custom Techie, promising. Okay, that's promising. It can be difficult to win if the runner knows your tricks, but being able to snipe key cards is always a ton of fun. For a runner, Hyper-Aggressive Criminal. I love fishing for a full run with more cards and credits than I started with. Problematic, but I can respect that. Even though I die to it way more than I should and can never seem to prove myself, my favourite card is probably Project Junebug. Okay, that's good. In my opinion, it's one of the most quintessential Android Netrunner cards. There's nothing more satisfying than tricking your opponent to flatline themselves. What were you doing before you joined the LCG team? Since 2012, I went to South Korea as an English instructor. My original intent was only to stay for a year, but I ended up so much time in it for 4. Do you have any experience in doing any type of creative work? Any game design experience? Yes. Upon arriving in South Korea, I began developing a 2-player card game that I worked on for years. I was even in talks with the well-known publisher concerning the game before joining FG on Android Netrunner. In addition, I've had a handful of other card and board games that were in various stages of development. Okay. Along with a friend, I also started a group of tabletop game designers in Seoul. Through that group, I was able to regularly play test role and Korean designers and publishers. Though teaching was my job since we moved to South Korea, my passion has always been card and board games. I really treated my design work like a second job over the years. What's been the biggest challenge for you sifting through the mindset of Android Netrunner fan and player of Android Designer. I've had to redirect my focus to the continued future health of the game rather than simply concentrating on what I like or dislike as a player. Due to Android Netrunner's sheer scope and the fact that rotation is taking place soon, I was definitely being challenging this, but to consider. What are your thoughts on the current meta game? How would you like to see things work? For a long while now, things have been pretty readily dominated by orange and yellow. Okay, we're getting somewhere. While I think that realistically there will always be a handful of decks that are on top, there should be much more diversity in colours represented. Good. That being said, Shaper and Stealth have started to pick up steam recently, and Hasbro seems to be holding its correction. Engineering the future is holding its own. CI, brief spike, but easily countered. I would definitely like to see Wayland finding a footing. There we go, and I think that some of the upcoming cards will certainly help with that. Okay. I know I've seen his face before. Have I already tagged him?
Believe me, I've tried.
Might have already tagged him. Well, let's just add the tag anyway.
The fire rises. Calm down, Doctor. Now is not the time for fear. That comes later.